Ladies and gentlemen, friends, tonight we gather to celebrate the life and legacy of Rabbi Burns. We pause to reflect not only on his poetry, but on his ideals, his vision, and his enduring relevance to the world that we live in today. Burns was not just a poet, he was a revolutionary spirit, a voice for the oppressed, and a tireless advocate for justice. He believed in the rights of the common people, the dignity of the working class, and the inherent equality of all, whether man or woman, rich or poor, Scots or any other. He was born into poverty, which led to a lifelong advocacy for the dignity of the poor. Is therefore honest poverty that hangs his head in ALBA, the coward slave we pass him by, we dare be poor for ALBA. The fear of poverty and the shame of being poor was in Burns' world, but in Burns' world, a poor man is the equal worth to the Lord who struts and stares in ALBA. He had 13 children, and he was by accounts a good father. In his own words, he was a lover, not a fighter. In wars at home, I'll spend my blood like in wars of Venus. The deities that I adore are social peace and plenty. I'm better pleased to make one more than be the death of 20. Burns was fascinated by the Jacobites, and many of his works featured them. Ye Jacobites by name, Highland Laddie, Johnny Cope, and many others. Jacobites are romantic and Scottish and code for not being very keen on the union with England. And he had a plan for the butcher Cumberland. Satan sits in his black nuke, my bonny laddie, Hieland laddie, breaking sticks to roast the Duke. Burns was a radical and he admired the Scottish heroes Bruce and Wallace. Scots why he Wallace bled, Scots why Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory blade, or to victory. His radicalism made him an enthusiastic supporter of both the French and the American revolutions. Liberty in every blow, let us do or die. Now, imagine Burns could see into the future and sees us here tonight and our world today. What would he see? He'd see a Berkey Cada King arriving by helicopter to visit a food bank in his ribbon stars in ALBA. He'd see the so-called Socialist Party freezing the poor, punishing children for having too many brothers and sisters, homelessness, addiction, and despair, the rich buying influence and increasing their wealth, the poor living off the scraps from the rich man's table. They are be damned what right hae they to meat or sleep or light or day. Far less to riches, power or freedom, but what your lordship please to give them. He'd see a world of war and conflict, the bombing and killing of innocent children and civilians. Ye hypocrites, are these your pranks to murder men and give God thanks? Desist or shame, proceed no further. God won't accept your thanks for murder. He dreamt of international solidarity and brotherhood. Instead, he see a world dangerously divided. Peace thy olive wand extend, and bid wild war his ravage end. Man with brother, man to meet, and as a brother kindly greet. And the human cost of war on those left behind. The church is in the ruins, the state is in jars, delusions of oppressions and murderous wars. We dare no we'll say it, but we ken who's to blame. There'll never be peace till Jamie comes home. Things haven't really changed since his day, and I'm sure he would cry if he had looked 230 years into the future and saw man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands more. In the rights of women, Burns wrote that women needed protection, to be treated well and to be respected. And we cannot say that that is happening in today's world. Today, women here and across the world still fight for our rights, for justice, for equality, and the respect and freedom that Burns believed we deserve. The absolutely inhumane treatment of women in Afghanistan is tolerated by this world, and we are going to play cricket with the boys. But truce with kings and truce with constitutions, with bloody armaments and revolutions, let majesty your first attention summon Aka Ira, the majesty of women. And what would Burns have thought about our no vote in 2014? Would he have been disappointed? I think he would. In a letter to Mrs. Dunlop, he wrote, "Alas, I have often said to myself, what are all the boasted advantages which my country reaps from a certain union that can counterbalance the annihilation of her independence and her very name?" I think we can all sympathise and agree with that sentiment. It's difficult to imagine Burns, who was on the side of the poor and the vulnerable in society, voting in a referendum to defend the Union. I imagine his support for independence would be predicated on the basis that it would improve the lives of the poor and vulnerable. And given his views on war, "Bairns, not bombs," would have been his slogan. We can see that the world is still filled with inequality, and the rich and powerful still hold sway over the rest, and that the structures of injustice remain firmly in place. He would undoubtedly be disappointed to see that many of the ideals he championed remain dreams rather than realities. So what would he advise us and our politicians? Let posts and pensions sink or swim. We then grant them. If honestly they canna come, far better want them. I think he might have had his own pension peak in those days. And in gathering votes, you earn no slack. Now stand as tightly by your tack. Ne'er claw your luck or fudge your back and hum and haw, but raise your arm and tell your crack afore them all. Stick to the promises you made to get elected. Someone should have told Nicola Sturgeon that. What would Burns advise us? You ALBA Party members and independent supporters here tonight. Well, we're his friends, and we're younger than him because he's 266 now. In his poem, Epistle to a Young Friend, us, he gives plenty of advice that we should take. And your views may come to naught, but every nerve is strained. Sometimes things won't work out, but you keep trying, and no matter how hard you try, they might not work. Conceal yourself as well you can, frae critical dissection, but peek through every other man with sharp and sly inspection. Don't give your plans away, but find out what the others' plans are up to. And no playing to the gallery for cheap headlines. You know who you are. An atheist laugh is a poor exchange for deities offended. And gather gear by every while that's justified by honour. Marshal your resources. And then bide your time to catch Dame Fortune's golden smile. Not for riches, but for the glorious privilege of being independent. So tonight, as we raise our glasses in honour of Robert Burns, let's commit ourselves to his ideals, liberty, fraternity, equality, and let us pray that come it may and come it will for Allah, that man to man the world hour shall brothers be for Allah. Be more Rabbi.